CBS 6 News starts now.
March Madness in Albany continuing in April. The Elite Eight setting up as a rematch between Iowa and LSU and women's college hoops. We'll have a live preview of all the excitement straight ahead.
Plus, helping the deaf and disabled, how a local woman's efforts are connecting children across the globe.
Well, first tonight at 5, the calendar does say April, but the atmosphere says March Madness. The Elite Eight continues tonight in Albany with a rematch of last year's national championship game between Iowa and LSU taking place at MVP Arena. LSU won last year. It was the most watched women's game in history.
We have team coverage tonight ahead of this highly anticipated matchup. Our Sam Israel is live standing by with the Iowa fans, but first we want to head out to CBS 6's Brianna Supardi. And Bree, you're in LSU land right now. Tell us where you are and how things are looking there.
Amani, Greg, all the excitement.
Going to be an exciting game out there.
Yeah, the rest of everything now is like a little down the hill.
I think it'll build up, though, as we get inch closer to the game. All right, well, turning now to weather, taking a live look outside over the city of Troy. It's pretty quiet as we inch closer to the big game, but snow could be on the way later this week.
Yikes, we don't like the sound of that. Let's send it over to Chief Meteorologist Steve LaPointe, who is tracking what's happening for us tonight.
All right, Amani and Greg, I can hear.
Steve, thanks. Jury selection now underway for an Albany man charged with second-degree murder following his arraignment this morning. Willie Green is also charged with criminal facilitation and hindering prosecution. This stemming from a deadly November shooting around 2nd Street and North Lake Avenue. The victim is 26-year-old Hassief Oliver. Prosecutors say others could also be charged in connection to this crime. A Lake George woman is taking helping others to a new level, traveling across the globe to improve the lives of disabled children while recruiting a group of local children to help in the effort too. Marcy Reisinger's upbringing was different than most. She was born into a family with 2 deaf parents who graduated from a fully deaf university and went on to teach deaf children.
I was fully embedded in the deaf community from the time that I was born.
That, combined with several trips to Kenya in recent years, led to Marcy finding her life's purpose.
I was really interested in seeing how the deaf community lived and what education was like for children who were deaf in a third world nation.
Marcy creating Hearts That Hear, an organization empowering children with disabilities through education, advocacy, and community. Even going on to build a free school for deaf and disabled children in Kenya. The 75 students also receive free room and board, sign language lessons, and more.
Many children over in Kenya who are deaf and who have disabilities, who may be nonverbal, don't actually have any way to communicate. So our biggest thing is getting kids to communicate to their teachers, to their parents, to their peers, and really being able to build relationships.
Relationships that are now being fostered between children in Lake George and the students in Kenya. It's thanks to a pen pal program Marcy started between the two groups. The students happy to make a new friend.
I heard Miss Marcy talking about it, and I figured it'd be really cool to talk to some kids in Kenya across the globe, see how their life is.
We talk about how, like, what our favorite color is, what our favorite food is, like, how we're doing, like, what's life like down there and what's life like up here.
Lake George school administrators say the program helps set their students up for success.
When you think of our mission statement, it focuses on students becoming global citizens. So anytime that they can collaborate with kids or really anyone outside of our walls, especially students that are in a different country, it just opens their eyes to all the different possibilities that exist.
Hopeful it removes the stigma surrounding children with disabilities, too.
People with disabilities can do anything, just as, everyone can. We can all succeed.
And get this, the deaf and disabled students in Kenya recently won a regional drama competition and will now go on to compete in a national drama competition in Nairobi. For many of the students, this will be their first time leaving home to visit a big city. For more information about Hearts That Hear or the students' journey, visit this story at cbs6albany.com.
So many angles to that story, and each one is a good one.
Yeah, it's a great story, and just to see the kids get involved
Yeah.
and really care is great as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for bringing it to us. All right, still to come, the start of April marks the beginning of a special opportunity for veterans across the state of New York.
How legislation going into effect today will benefit veterans looking to visit New York's parks and campgrounds.
Also following Easter Sunday, why the Biden White House's celebration of Transgender Day of Visibility is sparking backlash.
And coming up at 6 tonight, how has Albany done as a Sweet 16 venue? The winningest coach in the land weighs in on that in a one-on-one interview with CBS 6.
Plus, our coverage of women's basketball in Albany continues. Our Sam Israel breaks down the Iowa-LSU rematch that's coming up in just about 2 hours from now.
This year, Transgender Day of Visibility fell on Easter Sunday. The Biden administration marking the day as they have in the past, sparking intense backlash among Christians and conservatives.
Yeah, conservatives arguing the conflation of Easter and the Transgender Day of Visibility was wrong. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins explains the controversy. Well, starting today, veterans and Gold Star families can visit New York State parks for free.
In addition to parks, this includes state lands, campgrounds, and historic sites. It's part of the state park's Lifetime Liberty Pass program. Governor Hochul signed the legislation last week to provide more support to veterans and their families. All right, Steve, thank you. Download the free CBS 6 Weather Authority app and get your forecast on the go, interactive radar, and more at your fingertips. You can find that in your app store by searching WRGB.
It's not much of a forecast, at least for the weekdays.
Yeah.
Well, they do. All right, coming up, much more on March Madness. Sports is next. Sam live from the MVP Arena, but here's a look at what's ahead at 5:30. A new report from the State Controller's Office surrounding school employee pay.
In tonight's Crisis in the Classroom, CBS 6 breaks down the controller's findings in local districts.
Plus, for travelers in the Catskill region, how long of a detour you can expect due to construction of the Cotterskill Road Bridge.
A lot of people are going to be tuned in for this one.
I'm all on Twitter. You know, last year's national championship game was the most watched women's game ever. I think they might beat it tonight. And you've got that UConn game coming up after it, too.
That's true. They might top it.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. All right, Sam, thank you. Well, still to come tonight, a crisis in the classroom. A shocking report showing some school employees didn't receive full pay.
CBS 6's JT Fetch breaks down the numbers, including for school districts here in the capital region.
And details of a high-stakes meeting between the White House and Israel as the prime minister may soon struggle to hold on to power.
CBS 6 News starts now.
And first at 5:30, your top stories and weather headlines. Here's what you need to know.
LSU and Iowa facing off in a rematch of last year's title game in the Elite Eight tonight at the MVP Arena beginning at 7. We'll continue to follow the excitement around this matchup tonight at 6.
Jury selection now underway for an Albany man charged with second-degree murder following his arraignment this morning. The charges stem from a deadly shooting in the area of 2nd Street and North Lake Avenue. The victim, 26-year-old Hassief Oliver.
An Albany man arraigned today on numerous charges, including for attempted murder in connection to a shots-fired incident back in February. Donta Blair pleaded not guilty and has since been sent to Albany County Jail.
In-depth coverage on all these stories online. Just head to CBS6Albany.com.
New York's presidential primary voting officially starts tomorrow. Voting for the primary is already open for enrolled members of the Democratic or Republican parties. Democratic candidates include President Biden, Marianne Williamson, and Dean Phillips. Republican candidates include former President Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and Chris Christie. President Biden and former President Trump both have already secured the required delegates to be their respective parties' nominee. The Biden-Trump rematch becomes official when party delegates formally nominate them at convention this summer. And today is traditionally the deadline for the state budget, but the deadline is pushed back this year. Governor Hochul signing an extension for Easter weekend so lawmakers could spend time with their families. They now have until Thursday to pass the budget. Housing, retail theft penalties, and tenant protections have been sticking points. U.S. national security officials meeting virtually with Israeli counterparts to discuss a potential military operation in southern Gaza. The meeting was originally scheduled to occur in person, but Israel canceled its visit to Washington after the U.S. abstained from the passage of a United Nations resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar has the latest from Washington.
U.S.-Israel relations.
Well, still to come, April kicks off Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Details on a new campaign to keep drivers focused behind the wheel.
Plus, a new safety warning over dangerous toxins, the popular children's toy causing such a stir, and how to protect your kids. Well, tonight, growing evidence China is conducting a campaign of influence ahead of the 2024 presidential election. That's according to multiple federal agencies.
It comes amid growing tensions between the two nations, including when a Chinese spy balloon traveled across the United States last year. National correspondent Christine Frizzau has more.
On popular social
day Monday, sunshine and pushing 60.
Ready for the snow again?
I am not.
No.
But what can you do? Got to get
right.
ready.
Get it ready. Get the shovels ready. Coming up all new at 6 tonight on CBS 6. How has Albany been as a Sweet 16 venue?
The winningest coach in the land weighs in on that in a one-on-one interview with CBS 6.
Plus, we share just how some of these major teams are showing their support for the Capital Region's finest dining options.
And in tonight's Google Trends, we'll share how one of the #1 trending names on the internet right now is the biggest name in Albany. For the second year in a row, the number of traffic deaths has fallen. That's according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And NHTSA also premiered a new campaign calling out all phone use behind the wheel.
The driver of the tractor-trailer agency cited Danny Tinner survived the crash and faces 5 counts of manslaughter. A new analysis from Bankrate.com found buyers need to make more than $100,000 to comfortably afford a median-priced home in 22 states and Washington, D.C. Analysts determined affordability as whether mortgage payments could be made, assuming a 20% down payment with a 30-year fixed rate. They didn't factor in closing cost, home maintenance cost, and non-housing item cost, which all home buyers have to take into consideration. The more expensive places listed are California, Hawaii, D.C., Massachusetts, and Washington state. This as New York State grapples with its own housing crisis. A new safety report about a popular children's toy, water beads.
Yeah, regulators say 2 brands contain a dangerous toxin. In your Consumer Report, CBS 6's Lara Bryn breaks down what parents need to know. And Consumer Reports warns everyone to be very skeptical of labels that say non-toxic.
It's a term that's under-regulated and under-enforced. It's best to check with the company directly about its ingredients if you're concerned.
Well, still to come tonight, Albany's MVP Arena hosting the biggest names in women's college basketball.
Team coverage continues in our 6 o'clock hour. We're live from the arena with what fans can expect to see.